My name is Henry Haworth. I'm the Energy Manager based in our Lincoln office. Today I'm just going to talk a little bit about current UK energy policy and renewable energy. So July, or the end of July, saw a big announcement in the energy world in the UK with over 100 new active licences for oil and gas drilling to be auctioned off at the end of August. This, combined with the reductions for emissions targets under the emissions trading scheme, sees a bit of a slip in UK energy policy for net zero. Since the introduction of net zero 2050, there's been very little policy that actually backs up the introduction of new renewable energies, which is one of our major ways to decarbonise. So with the lack of introduction of new policy, this raises the question of how do we develop new renewables in the UK? So despite the lack of policy, the start of 2023 actually did see quite an influx of new solar and wind projects. And particularly, we saw lots of interest from farm owners and business owners who were looking to offset their on-site usage. So this is obviously as a direct result of the war in Ukraine and increased energy prices as a result of the lack of gas flow from Russia. Now, as we've gone through the year, this has actually faded away a bit as energy prices have started to stabilise. This is due to a much warmer winter than we were expecting, and gas supplies in the EU actually holding out longer than we expected they would. Despite this, we're still seeing a lot of interest from our clients to look into these projects, and we're finding that they only work in specific circumstances. With no subsidies to support new renewable energy generation, we actually need to look at actually offsetting your on-site usage, as that is the major way to make a project viable. The other way is through selling excess electricity into the electricity grid. However, the value of electricity saved compared to that sold into the grid is much higher, therefore will make a much more viable project. When looking at solar projects particularly, we need to see that you'd be using at least 75% of your electricity on site for a project to be viable. With sites like vegetable producers and where there's rental to office space seeing the highest usage. For anyone considering a renewable energy project, something that's key is a feasibility study, and that's an independent feasibility study. So although most technology providers will actually supply you with some profit and loss for any installation, they will actually be trying to influence you to purchase their product. So they may not consider things like an increasing energy price over the project lifetime, or even they may increase the capacity of their products to what they can actually do in reality. Ultimately, we will expect to see that the requirements for carbon reporting and carbon targeting comes down to all businesses within the UK. This will likely be instigated through a carbon credit or carbon pricing scheme, which will mean every business will be given a specific carbon target, and if you are underneath that target, you'll be able to sell any excess carbon, and if you're over it, you'll have to purchase carbon credits. Now, this will stimulate the growth of renewables, allowing you to reduce your overall carbon target and sell those additional credits, making that a more viable project for your business outside of just getting income from the sale of electric or offsetting on site. So already a lot of businesses in the UK and EU are ahead of policy in the carbon sector and have already done a lot of detailed reporting and target setting. This has led to a large unregulated carbon market within the UK and EU. While UK government policy seems to be moving away from low carbon generation, it's positive that there still seems to be movement in the industry. It's clear that in the lead up to net zero 2050, there has to be a place for renewable energy generation and most likely carbon.